a guy that we're going to talk about and just talked about in the opening segment won 31 games. He's now being treated by Dr. Locks, who is in the studio. Dr. Locks, how are you? Talk right into that microphone over there.
I am good. Nice to see you, Ron, JP.
What's up, Dr. Locks? How are you?
I am, ran here, had some lunch, and doing good right now.
You are a busy, busy man. So
Yes.
many people are going to you now.
He's world famous.
Yeah, you are world famous. Beverly Hills, and now in Germany, people are talking about your stem cell therapy. Derek Brooks swears by you after you fixed his wrists.
And he came back last Friday, and I did his knee.
And you did his knee.
Yeah, so he came back for seconds, but the story is even more interesting. Last summer when I did him, I did a radio LA host, a sports show, who used to be a USC halfback. And when they played FSU, Derek crushed him. So he wants to talk to Derek. But now Eric Dickerson is part-time co-host. So Eric and Derek know each other. So Derek called him 2 weeks ago. I didn't know that. Friday he shows up and he says, I called ED 2 weeks ago. He wants to know when this thing's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm going to fly to LA in 2 weeks, and it's all supposed to happen.
I don't know how
Yeah,
I don't know how you do it with your schedule. And a guy you're going to be treating here soon who won those 31 games and threw 336 innings in 1 year with 28 complete games joins us. Denny McLean is on the phone. Denny, how are you?
I'm fine, guys. How are you?
Good.
Excellent.
May I say one thing about Tampa Bay? We lived there for a long time after I retired. We lived in Lakeland, then we lived in St. Pete, then we finally moved back to Tampa, lived up on Dale Mabry. And I've got to tell you one thing I come almost every year to the dinner that they have in February. In fact, I'll be down there again this year for the big charity dinner that they do every year. And I've got to tell you something. And I said this a couple of years ago to Dave McCarthy, who runs the Ted Williams Museum down there. I said, this city of Tampa, the Tampa Bay Rays players, based upon what I've seen the last 3, 4, 5 years, they are the most giving, caring guys for a community that I've ever been around. I've been around a number of clubs, including Detroit, for a long time. I have never seen such charitable acts and absolutely interested in what the community is doing more than the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, it's unbelievable what I saw over the last 4 or 5 years.
What a great thing to hear, man, about our own community. And we live it.
Longo does a great job. Chris Archer, Logan Forsythe, they all do great jobs, and then they get traded.
Yeah, that's the downside of it, Denny. Denny, how is your arm still attached to you?
Well, it isn't anymore. I forgot to tell Doc the other day. I finally, after 45 years, severed my right shoulder. I had to retire because my rotator cuff had a pretty significant tear in it, and I couldn't pitch anymore. Well, then what happens is over the next 40, 45 years, somebody at Ford Hospital up here in Detroit said, an orthopedic guy said, one day that whole rotator cuff is coming apart. And it finally did about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So it's useless right now. So somebody's got to work on it pretty soon. Either I'm going to have an operation or at least start with stem cell.
Stem cell, Dr. Locks, man, he'll fix you up. You know it, Denny.
I know that.
When we see pitchers these days, in modern day baseball, we were just talking about James Shields had 11 complete games in 2011, which is a lot by modern day standards. 28 complete games in one season. That wasn't the norm. You had an unbelievable year, but a lot of guys threw in double-digit complete games. What do you think the big difference is today?
Well, number one, we pitched every fourth day. I think we were these guys today, I think, are in much better condition to lift weights than they are to pitch. You don't run the ball across home plate. You pitch the ball across home plate. I don't think they concentrate enough on pitching. I don't think they throw enough. And if you don't throw it, it's like a basketball player. He goes out and shoots 500 free throws a day so he can make that free throw at the proper moment. Baseball pitchers should be doing the same thing. They should throw a minimum of 7, 8, 9 minutes every day, and then once every 4 or 5 days until the season starts, you got to let it all hang out about every 5 or 6 days. And that's not what's going on, because if you don't build up that ability, that strength, you're never going to be consistent. And I think that's what's wrong with the game today. We've got a lot of guys throwing at 95, if you believe the radar guns. Radar guns, I think, are just a great hoopla that promote the game. It's a great way to promote the game, but we've seen too many guys that allegedly throw the ball at 9,500 miles an hour get hurt. And what happens is they fall in love with their fastball. The next thing they know, they got a little sore arm. They go to a slider. They start short-arming the ball. And what's next? They got to go see Dr. Locks.
Yeah. Doctor, tell me what you're doing for what you can do for rotator cuffs and you do and for Tommy John and a lot of other things.
Well, when I was talking with Denny yesterday, I wanted his permission because every pitcher that I've ever done has not given me permission to discuss their case. So if y'all don't have permission, it violates HIPAA.
Right.
So I've had 3-time All-Star, $100 million contract. Had surgery by 2 of the biggest names in the game, which I won't say who. Didn't get better, lost his contract, was sent to me, and he started throwing 95. A radar gun got on him, and he got signed and disappeared the next day. And then
I can give you a great story too. I mean, Gordie Howe and I were very close, and Gordie had stem cell. They flew him down to Mexico. People guaranteed him that he'd come out of Mexico running and rocking and rolling. He went down in an ambulatory condition, and when he came out of the hospital about 5 days later, 4 or 5 days later, from the stem cell procedure, he was actually walking down the hallways on his own, no wheelchair, and flew home first class back to Detroit.
Amazing story.
That's what stem cell did.
We have on the line the last 30-game winner in the major leagues. He also won the Cy Young Award as well as the Most Valuable Player Award. A hell of a year for Denny McLain, who joins us along with Dr. Locks, who will be treating Denny as he tries to get his arm and some other body parts back working at 100%. I know you took a beating. Be careful, I will. Denny, talk about the home run you gave up to Mickey Mantle. Some controversy. He broke Jimmy Fox's record with that home run. I think it was 535. What happened then?
Yeah, Mickey was my idol growing up. I mean, I was a generation behind him, more or less, and at least a decade. And he was the guy. I mean, there were 2 guys that I admired more than anybody else growing up. One was Mickey Mantle, the other was Al Kaline. And here, I wound up with the Detroit Tigers, and first guy I meet in the Detroit Tiger clubhouse is Al Kaline. And the next baseball club they played the next following weekend were the New York Yankees. There was Mickey Mantle. I'm standing next to him. I mean, it was a child's dream come true. Anyway, this was his last time he was in Detroit. He was retiring. He's already announced his retirement in '68. And he needed one more home run to go by Jimmy Fox. And I called the catcher out, Jimmy Price, and I said, listen, tell Mickey to get ready. And Price said, what the hell does that mean? I said, listen, we're winning 6-1, 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. He can't hit a 6-run homer. only a single-run home run he can hit. There's 2 outs. Keep that in mind, Jim. Just tell him to be ready. He says, that's cheating. We're going to get in trouble. I said, we're not going to get in trouble. So he goes behind home plate, didn't say a word to Mantle. So I throw the first pitch at about 60 miles an hour on an arc. And the strike right down the middle, Mantle didn't even move. And he looked at Price and said, what the hell is going on with him? And Price says, I can't tell you. It'd be cheating. So the home plate umpire, Emmett Ashford, says to Price, what was that all about? And Price now thinks the umpire is going to give him up. And so Price says, I don't know what. He's trying to do something silly. So Emmett Ashford, first black umpire in the history of Major League Baseball, says, you go ask him what he's going to do with the next pitch. So now Emmett all of a sudden caught on to it. So here comes Price. He says, listen, I don't know how far we're going to get in trouble, but Emmett wants to know if you're going to do it again now. I said, you got to be kidding. So I tell him the same thing. So he goes behind home plate. He says, would you, both of you guys, just be ready? Just be ready. So I throw the next pitch, 60 miles an hour on an arc, and Mantle takes it again. Now I know I'm not working with a Rhodes Scholar. Right?
He might have had a couple beers too.
Yeah. Well, whatever. But so the next pitch, I yelled down to him. I said, "Where the hell do you want it?" And he puts his hand out, and I said, "All right." Throw another one, 60 miles an hour on an arc, and he fouls it off. So I said, listen, just tell me where, Mick. Just please. I said, we can't keep this up all day. We got to be somewhere tonight. So the next thing he does, he puts his hand out just above the belt and threw another pitch right in the same place, and he hit it about 19 miles. So he goes around, gets all the adulation that you can accept, and at any one moment, it was unbelievable what a standing ovation was. Then what happens is Joe Pepitone is the next hitter. Joe Pepitone comes up, and he says, "Hey, I'm going to be here next year." He's retired. So I wound up as hard as I could, and threw one of the hardest fastballs I threw all year. And this is the last game I'm pitching that year, and my 31st win. And I threw the ball right behind his head so I wouldn't hit him. And I knocked him down. His helmet went towards the backstop. His bat went towards the third base line. And it looked like a moth or a fly coming off his head, a big fly. You know what it was?
What?
It was his toupee.
How great is that? Wow.
Remember this, the umpires back then wore their chest protectors outside their jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So the toupee wound up on the front of the chest protector of the Ashford.
What a great story.
Is there
Denny,
a picture of that
What a
anywhere,
great
Denny?
moment.
that's awesome. Denny,
Oh,
thanks
my
so much for
gosh.
being with us today. Good luck when
All
you get
right.
Dr. Locke's working on you, brother. Thank you.
Work for me, brother.
And listen, if you see Eiserman down there, tell him I said hello.
Will do, yeah, man.
Wait.
Steve Eiserman, all those years in Detroit as a captain.
He's busy looking for a defenseman your size, Denny. That's what he needs right now.
And hoping for another victory tomorrow night in Florida. All right, before we let you go, Dr. Locks, a story of you growing organs.
Yes.
What is
Okay,
that
how
all
is
about?
that even possible?
Well, I don't do it, but several universities are doing it now. University of Pittsburgh they take a 3D bioprinter, and instead of ink, you put stem cells in, and it just prints whatever you want. And so they can grow cartilage. Wake Forest, the head of the regenerative medicine program, Anthony Natala, is a urologist, and he bioprinted a kidney and put it in a 20-year-old.
That's incredible.
I know.
I thought you were going somewhere else there with the
A
urologist.
penile implant?
No, well they can do that too, but
Well then,
but-
I'd like to make an order.
but
Extra large, please.
yeah, but I know a urologist in Palm Springs that can do crazy stuff with stem cells.
Hey,
There you go.
One more thing. You worked wonders on JP's knees. I was just telling you when we first talked off the air, I got an elbow thing, a little minor thing, just going to work through it. But I know that in my back pocket, I have, for the future, stem cell therapy and regenerative medicine and Dr. Locks to save me like he did. And
Yeah.
you talk about your knees like they're brand new.
It's I couldn't, like a year and a half ago before I saw you, I couldn't do squats anymore. I couldn't play basketball. Couldn't play tennis. Tennis is something I love to play, and I couldn't even do it anymore. I'd have to ice my knees for 3 days afterwards, and now it's awesome. I can go out and play, no pain, and no ice afterwards. It's good stuff. So thanks.
You're absolutely welcome.
And Dr. Locks, I'm thinking, I don't know, in the next 2, 3, 5 years, I'll be needing your services. So by then, it's going to be so it's going to be so advanced. It'll probably take 10 minutes. That's what I'm hoping. You do great stuff, Dr. Locks.
Thank you.
For those that are aching and you want to get rid of your pain, Dr. Locks, LOX. You can find him online, drlocks.com. Derek Brooks. It worked so well for his wrists, he decided to do his knee.
You know how much money you've cost people like me and everybody else that plays golf with Derek now? Because now he can play without pain, and now you're fixing his knee. I'm like, come on, man. And his handicap still doesn't come down. I don't know what's up with that.
Derek's doing movies now. He's been a movie producer. He's all over the place.
Yeah, he's a good man.
Another one of the great quality guys we got here in the community for
One
Tampa Bay.
wonderful individual.
Thank you, Dr. Locks, LOX, drlocks.com.